So we're seeing a massive pace of change right now, both from a government and a business transformation perspective. Governments are grappling to find revenue, and they'll find the use of data and technology to find their way to basically triangulate that information to ensure that they're getting the revenues that they seek. One example is the Brazilian government. 5 years ago, introduced something called e-invoicing. It's basically real-time exchange between buyer and seller of any type of invoice, and it went to the Brazilian government in real time. Well, were they able to collect $50 billion in the first 5 years of that program? And since then, you get copycats. Mexico, Colombia, people are jumping in, and they see what other countries are doing to basically collect revenue in a more real-time fashion, and that's what we're seeing today. And so where we take this is, how does business transform their activities and processes to keep up with that change? And you're seeing the use of technology within businesses that allow them to have more real-time transactional activity, and at the same time, their customers are asking for them to have that type of service as well. In terms of the landscape, from a tax perspective, what we're seeing today is the pace of change has dramatically increased. And that's in the form of government and what they're trying to basically implement from a regulatory perspective. They're introducing new changes, or in some cases just enforcing existing law that helps them find their way to the revenues that they should have been collecting all along. What that is also doing is putting pressure on the business to transform their process and their controls and their procedures to keep up with that type of change. And not only that, is the government pushing them, but their customers are pushing them as well. And so customers want information in real time. They want to make sure that they're working with a business that is highly secure, but at the same time providing value and benefit. So technology plays a very strong role, right? In today's modern age, we're seeing incredible amount of change when you think about gig economy or blockchain technology. You're seeing it everywhere, in every segment in fintech and regtech. And in the tax world, you're basically seeing governments wanting to triangulate information. So they're putting the onus back on the business. They want to make sure that the type of business that they're doing with their end customers, they're seeing that data come through to the government. And what that allows for the government to do is triangulate that information. How do they do that? With modernized technology. Businesses as well have to actually invest and create a more infrastructure for modern day use. And in today's world, where we see governments pushing the envelope on real-time data integration, the businesses have to keep up. So for the future, fintech and regtech, I think ultimately where things are going, especially on the regtech side, is that governments ultimately will come to you, the individual, and say, this is what you owe in tax, or this is what we're going to refund. Prove us wrong, right? Because all the data will create the power within their infrastructure to determine exactly what that is. Okay, future predictions in regtech. What I expect to see is a continuation of the moving of deadlines up to where you're going to see real-time tax process. We've already seen it in LATAM. We're starting to see it in Europe. North America's a little slow, especially the U.S. government. They're a little bit behind the times. But even in the state level here in the U.S., you're seeing deadlines that used to be in April, March, be moved up to January. So when your customers are getting that information at the end of the year, that tax statement is also going to the government. That allows the states to basically get after tax fraud, which is the biggest challenge with any of the governments around the world, but especially here in the United States. So there's already governments outside the United States that basically pull in data transactionally. That's the important aspect, right? They're getting the data in a much more real-time perspective, where here in the United States, it's quarterly, sometimes annual. And so a lot of time has gone by before the governments can actually weed through the information. But as governments get this information real time, they can then in turn have the entire picture of you as an individual and what you ultimately earned in a given year and ultimately what you owe in tax. So that's the government coming back to you and saying, Shannon, here's what you owe, please write a check. Actually, let's wire it so we can get this money in real time.